Video 3, Chapter 7. Emmett and I were in 12th level, which on our world is the level of coming of age. Some thought it was a good level, others dreaded it. Like those of the Royal, they meant we were becoming of age to join the circles. After class break, we get to go to Castle Den and Lordson and prepare for the circle training, Cyrus said, as if we really needed to go away from home to learn how to fight. We did that on a daily basis in classes. Once we reached the 12th level, I just looked at him as if he had lost his mind. So, what are we doing in defense class and decree class that we are not going to do at Circle Den? I asked him. Why you asking me? How I to know? Never been there, Cyrus replied. News for you, friend. It is the same stuff, just more of it, I told him. So why we got to go to the den to learn what we learn in classes? Maverick asked. It is to take us to Odin's Mountain and prepare us for the service, Emmett spoke up, saying. I turned and looked at him. Really? Now, E. So we are going to have defense and decree classes at the base of Odin's Mountain instead of in a classroom. Damn glad I get to go, I said sarcastically. Law, there's more to it than just that. I really don't know. I did ask Mike and Danny, however, they would not say. Danny say we find out once we get there, Emmett said, and I smirked. We get to all together this break, as I asked Father to wait for Par and Qual to be of age, so we could all go together. Emmy spoke up and said, yeah, he asked me if I wanted to wait. I told him it didn't matter, and I agreed, Emmett replied. I'm going to go to Crystal Lake once we get there. I want to know what it looks like and what the big fuss is all about, Emmett said. I like to know that also, Donnie spoke up, saying. They are not going to let us climb that mountain, Emmett, and you know this, Emmy said. Who said they's going to be there to see us do it? Trust me, I got a plan, Emmett said, and I just groaned. I knew when E said, trust me, it was a bad idea. However, like the good friend I am, and I was, I said not a thing. The first sun was dimming, and that meant it was time to start back home. We were all going to stay at Valhalla for a sleepover, so we started back to Emmett and Emmy's home. News break, or cut in the story. I need to, or feel the need to explain something here. Some of you might be wondering about the first son. Others might not give up. All right. On the world, as you know, there is AM, or ante-mortem, meaning before noon or midday, and PM, or post-mortem, meaning afternoon or midday, respectively. Now, what I just taught you, I will confess I have no idea what that means. And some say, us on the garden's words are hard to understand. Or ours simpler makes more sense. Or ours that are simple make more sense. And I can explain them, which may or not be a good thing. Anywho, we have first sun and second sun. The first sun is the daylight hours, and the second sun, or the cherry moon, is the nighttime hours. This may be the only simple thing on the garden. Just a little humor. The second sun is referred to as the cherry moon, as it has a cherry tint, and it is said that if we are out from under it, we lose our abilities. So, on the world, our abilities are very limited, for we are off the garden and out from under the cherry moon. Also, it is said that the cherry moon does not shine in Hellendrus as it does on the Saltern. That should give somebody something to think about. Also, this may drive your scientists crazy. However, the first sun and the second sun are the same sun or item. The sun just dims and becomes the second sun. Not sure how that world is above, or not sure how that would work. It's above my pay grade. Yet I only say we live in a spiritual realm, so that may have a lot to do with it, and then it may have nothing at all to do with it. Alright, back to reminiscing. We all went back to Valhalla and was headed into the garden area when Lewis popped up somewhere from around a corner, and we all moved to one knee and bowed our heads as he is the high priest, and that was showing him respect for his authority and station. Rise, children. Emmett, Emily, do you know where your brothers and sisters are? I cannot seem to find them, and they're not at the bar, he asked. As we stood, Emmett spoke up. Nope. If you want, we can go look for 'em. Emmett said, yes, and when you find them, tell them I want them here as soon as they can get here, and to locate all of them, Lewis said. Yes, sir, Emmett replied, and we turned and headed back out of the palace. Where are we going to find them? Charles asked. They at the tavern, Emmett said, as if he knew everything, and sometimes it seemed he did. How you know that? Daniel asked. 'Cause that is where they go to escape and hide from Dad. Come on, Emmett said, and we ran to the steeds and rode to the square. Jumping off the steeds, we ran into the square and into the tavern, where we found the whole lot of the Saltern Circle. We ceased running at the tables they had pulled together. You know, I am not a messenger boy, Emmett said, as Emmy and I just stood beside him, as the others just kept back. The tavern was open, and we were not supposed to be in there during open hours. Patsy looked to us and laughed. You sure about that, E? Danny asked. Yep. Father said he could not get a hold of any of you. I told him because you were having a gathering and did not invite me, Emmett told them, and I laughed as Emmett did not tell on them. Yes, well, we would have invited you, however, you're busy causing trouble, Mike told him. I am not causing trouble, I am delivering a message, Emmett told them. Deliver the message and get lost, Peter spoke up and said. Then Emmett looked to him, and with a slight move of his hand, Emmett fell out of his chair and slid across the floor and hit his head on the bar, and all started to laugh. However, his mate moved quickly over to him and down to her knees. Emmett, Scott called to him. That should shut him up for a while. Now, Emmett started to say when Peter rushed over toward us. Emmett, Paul and Danny stood and grabbed Peter. Do not do it, Danny told him. Peter gave Emmett a look and was trying to push him backwards with the stare. Emmy and I moved closer to Emmett. Emmy took his right hand, and I went to his left and took his left hand, and we glared back at Peter, visualizing him across the room once again. He then went flying back out of Danny and Paul's arms and went again, hitting his head on the bar. Just keep glaring his way. We dared him to even come closer. He finally subsided. He stood up, grabbed Betty by the hand, who was his wife, and stormed out of the tavern. Emmett, you really need to put an end to that, Dolores told him. Dolores was one of his sisters. He just will not leave me alone. I have done nothing to him, Emmett said. Yes, you have. Soon as Father reorders the circle, you take his position in the circle, Travis spoke up, saying. That is not my fault, that is Father's, Emmett said. He holds you in contempt for it, Brenda said. Or Brenda, which is another one of his sisters. You do not hold me, and I take your position, Emmy spoke up, saying. Right, little sister, you are more than welcome to it. Brenda laughed. Emmett, what is the message you are not a message boy to give to us? Scott asked. Oh, Father said when and if and I find you, to tell you all to get your arses to Valhalla immediately, Emmett said. Daddy did not say arses. Emmy spoke up, and I started to laugh. They all started to groan and laugh, placing the tables back where they should have been, and we all went back to Valhalla. Chapter 8. The day came that we traveled out of Atlantis to go to Circle Den in Lordsland. With us were Emmy, Partina, Juanita, Cyrus, Maverick, Charles, Donnie, Alex, and Daniel. We traveled also with 8 guards. Lewis really wanted to make sure we were safe. Actually, I think it was more so we didn't get into no trouble. However, with Emmett Humburge, trouble was our middle names. As we traveled, we rested at the camps. The first 2 camps, nothing really acquired. It would not be until the 3rd camp that would have us halfway to Circle Den, or Lord's Land, and right near Odin's Mountain. We were all sitting about the fire when Emmett spoke low to me. In the morning, we are going to slumber the guards and head to Odin's Mountain, Emmett said. I looked at him. Slumbering the guards meant we were going to put them to sleep. I was not really sure this was the best idea. Emmett has had, then again, I just went along with him and nodded. We went to our tents, and that night, then the next morning, as we woke, Emmett called the guards over to the fire, and as they stood dumbfounded, not sure as to what Emmett wanted, Emmy and I took his hand, and the others took our hands, and together we concentrated on the guards being asleep. One by one, they passed out. I looked over to Emmett as the guards were now having nice dreams about 11 kids behaving and just playing sticks and stones as we waited for the sunrise so we could then travel to Circle Den. Those poor men. Good thing they would not awake until Emmett and the rest of us woke them. Or so I thought. Gee, how wrong I was. As we traveled to Odin's Mountain, which would take us 1.5 days to reach, and it would only take us almost one whole day to reach Circled In. Now, Emmett and the rest of us never thought that if we did not arrive when scheduled to Circled In, that someone would contact the high priest. I do believe this all would have been better if we would have waited for the Den Fathers to have taken us there to the mountain, and then we could have put them in slumber and avoid the mess that was to come. Then again, perhaps not. As we came up on the mountain, it was kind of odd. We could feel the pull of the power it held, as the presence of Odin was there and they are. It was a strange feeling, not sure how to explain it. However, it just was weird. You could just feel them. We stood before it and looked to one another. "Emmy coming?" Emmett asked. "Not I. I have this feeling I did this before, and that has me not doing it again," she said. "Not with that again," Emmett said. You may not want to believe the truth of it. However, I know the truth of it. Do not go past the Crystal Lake," she told him. "I only want to see the Garden of Fruit, truthfully. Then I promise I will return," he told her. "Emmett Humburge, please be careful," Partina said in a plead. "Lord, we will be fine. Not like I'm going to try and make it to Asgard," he said, and with that he started up the mountain, and I followed him. "Hey, ouch!" we heard Cyrus say, and we turned to see what was happening. "What's wrong?" Emmett called. "I step on the mountain and I get shocked. That hurts. I just gonna stay with the girls," Cyrus said. Then Emmett and I started laughing as the others were coming on the mountain, lost their footing, and fell back down the mountain. "What are y'all doing?" I asked, laughing. "Apparently we are not going either. We cannot seem to keep our footing. Once we enter on it, we fall back down or slide back down," Daniel said, laughing also. "All right, all of you just stay there. Law and I will be back soon," Emmett said, and started to walk. Now, if I had not been the one doing this, I would never believe what happened. However, I took one more step to follow Emmett, and I was stuck. It was as if I was glued to the mountain. I also was going nowhere. "Law, come on," Emmett called. "Come on." "Right. Ain't gonna happen. I stuck. The mountain has claimed me. Go no more." I laughed as it was funny. I could not lift my leg to climb, and my left hand was also glued to the mountain. I was going nowhere. "All right. I do not know why. However, I want to see what it looks like, and I'm not sliding or being shocked or stuck, so I will help you get loose when I return. Just stay there," he said with a smirk. I laughed. "Sure, no problem. I promise to be right here when you return," I said, laughing, and he turned and started up the mountain more. Not soon, all went from bad to worse. "Emmett! Law! Get down here!" we heard Scott, Mike, and Danny yell. "I would, Danny, however I stuck. The mountain want to keep me," I called back, laughing. "Lewis, Emmett, Humburge, cease!" Scott yelled as he began to run up the mountain to Emmett, and Danny was following him. When Danny and Scott reached Emmett, they grabbed him by the arm and pulled him back. "You Little fool, what are you thinking? Scott yelled at him. I want to see what the garden of fruit looks like, Emmett said. You do not climb this mountain, Emmett. It is not safe, nor is this one bit funny, Scott said as they moved back down the mountain. Scott moved over to me and placed his hand on my shoulder. You have no business even thinking of going up this thing, Scott told me, and I laughed, then had to call out, I am free of the mountain. So the mountain does not want to keep you, Maverick called back. Scott and Danny then led us down off the mountain and at the base of it. What were you thinking, Emmett? This mountain is not a place to play. Climb it, Lewis Emmett, is not a game. Scott then pulled Emmett to him, and he was holding him very tight, as if Emmett was going to get away. Please, Emmett, do not do this again. Promise me you will not. If you are not favored, your life will be forfeit. Do you understand me? Scott pleaded, and he seemed to be very scared of something. I was not sure what that something was. Let me breathe a little. Damn, Scott, I'm not dead. And I only was going to the garden, Emmett said. If you had made it, I could not have assisted you, Scott said. Yes, you could have, Emmy spoke up, saying. Emmy, Scott said in a warning. Scott, you and Emmett are both of Odin's favor, as you are the first and the last son of the chosen high priest. You have to cross the pond of life to start the quest of the mountain. After the cross, you may not turn back, Emmy said. I had no idea what she was talking about, but I just listened. Emmy knew more than what she should know at times anyway. Emmy, we do not know that for certain. No one does. It is also said, once enter the garden, there is no turning back, Scott said. Let us just get to Lorden and contact Dad, Mike said, as he also moved to Emmett and rubbed his head. Then Emmett saw Patsy, and as he called her name, I turned to look to her. Patsy, pretty lady, what are you doing here? He asked. I had to see you were safe. Also, I had to try and help find out my two troublemakers, what they were up to, Patsy said with a faint laugh. The mountain almost kept me, I told her with a laugh, and she moved over, giving me a hug, and also Emmett. We went to Lord's Land with them. That was a very boring ordeal, and nothing much to get into, as all we did was study and different decrees and work with different weapons. Then, in 2 weeks passing, it was back to Atlantis. Chapter 9. We were all at the tavern, as classes had not resumed. We still had about 2 more weeks. We could hang out there with Mike and Paul as long as the tavern was not open for the public. We were on stage just fooling about with the girls and Mike and Lorelei. Emmy, Partina, Juanita, and Stockard were practicing some songs. They were going to sing at the celebration of classes resuming. We had a dance every week, and we had a dance at every celebration. Just face it, we like to dance. Anyway, school would resume in 2 more weeks, and the dance would be 2 days before the classes resumed. We don't have schools. That was a word I read that wasn't even here. Anyways, Emmy, however, did not really sing with them. Also, Emmett and I did not either. We only did when they practiced. We all saw Patsy come in. "Patsy, Patsy, come sing with us," Partina and Juanita both called out to her. She moved to the stage close to us. "What are we singing?" she asked. "Heartache Fool." Partina laughed. That was a song that was sung for Danny Lee before he met Patsy Lee. He was a heartbreak. He flirted and dated everything that could catch him. They could catch him, but they never could hold him down. Patsy laughed and moved closer to the stage. Mike jumped off the stage and to Patsy as she neared. "We have a circle meeting. Do you mind working with the kids while we're gone?" Mike asked her. "Not at all," she replied, and moved up on the stage with us. We played around and sung with Patsy for about 2 hours passing. Then they all returned. Emmett jumped down off the stage and went over to Scott. As Emmett did that, I followed him. "What Father say?" Emmett asked. "Next meeting you are to join and enter the circle." "Peter argued the fact," Scott said. "Peter argues with himself. One day he will wake up and see that if he cares more for our people instead of himself, he might, just might, receive the respect he wants," Emmett said. "Yeah, right," I laughed. "And I'm going to be king of Xandoe." I had to laugh even more. "You may very well be king of Xandoe one day, however, Peter is never going to learn. He will just get worse," Emmy said, and the kids sighed. As all the singing had stopped. "Perhaps when we get older, Peter will understand. Besides, you are a lot younger than he, and with more authority, or will have," Juanita told Emmett. "Yes, Qua. Look at the good side of all people. If it is not going to benefit Peter, then no go. One day he is going to benefit himself right off the throne," Emmett said. You should try and assist him, not badger him," Juanita told Emmett. "Badger? He is the one that hits on me. Until I found out I could prevent it and also counter him, I never bothered him. And I don't bother him until he starts bothering me," Emmett complained to Juanita, and I just started laughing. "Qua, he is right. Peter just does not like us," Emmy said, and sat on the stage. "We gonna sing or gossip about Peter?" Partina asked. Laura laughed and moved up on the stage and started to sing with the girls. Emmett looked to me and the others, and I was trying to stop laughing, and we went out of the tavern. The guys and I did, that is. We walked about the square, looking in different shops and really doing nothing, as Emmett seemed to be in great thought over the circle, and also Peter. Peter was always going after him and giving him grief for one thing or another. It was getting late, and really we lost track of how late it was until we realized it, and we was going to head to the house or to the homes. Time sure does fly by when you are not in glasses. Then, to our great luck, Patsy came up on us, and we were caught. It was past curfew, and we were actually headed out of the square. "Hey, ya, pretty lady," Emmett called to her. "Emmett, what are you doing out so late? You need to head home," she said to him, looking to all of us, and we just smiled innocently up at her. Not sure what Emmett was going to come up with, but we were leaving it all in his hands. "Patsy! Really?" Emmett said, as if surprised it was so late. "Yes, it is past curfew," Patsy told him. "Yet, Patsy, 'tis only 9 passing. Curfew is not till 10 passing. Has someone changed it?" Emmett said. I smirked with a laugh as he caused her to forget the time when he spoke those words. "All right, make sure you head home soon," she said, and moved past us to way of the tavern, and I started to laugh. "Shut up, Law. We best be getting home before she realizes I just changed her way of thinking, and she tells on us." Emmett laughed, and we took off in a run to get home. Classes resumed way too fast, and again we were all back at the education center. 5 days, 9 hours. Emmett, however, was now part of the circle, and that meant he could form a youth circle, as he and Emmy were the only Humburges in classes, and we were in the 13th level. Well, most of us were. That is, the others were in 12th, and Stewart was in 10th. We were outside the education center during lunch hour. "Hey, Dad," said, since Emmy and I were the only 2 of his kids in classes, we could recruit others for the youth circle. "So, how about it?" Emmett said, looking to all of us. We were all there besides Stewart and Carol. Stewart was still in class, and Carol was doing only Odin knows what. It was a good thing she was not there, because Emmett would not let her join the circle. I did not think she was actually qualified for it, and Emmy proved me right as she spoke with Emmett. "What of Carolyn?" Emmy asked. "Emmy, what of Carol? She is hot-headed, quick to temper, and thinks everyone should give her her way. Now, think about that, and the responsibilities of the circle," Emmett said, looking from her to me. "Hey, no look at me. I did not mention her name," I told him. "Yeah, right. You did not. However, she is gone about claiming you as her boyfriend," Emmett said. "Imagine that. I just take her to the dances, 'cause Emmy will not go with me, and nor will Juanita," I smirked. "Hey, do not blame us. You kind of like her," Juanita said. "I do when we're not around others that she can show off to. She can be kind of nice. I don't know. I am not quarreling with that girl," I told them. "So Carolyn is not getting the invite?" Emmy asked. "Emmy, you can invite her, and you can watch her. When she does something stupid, like slap someone for looking at her wrong, then you can explain to Father as to why she did it." Emmett smirked. "All right, get the message, Lords," she said, and rolled her eyes, and I had to laugh, and Emmett gave me a shut-up look. That only made me laugh louder, or more. He looked at the others. "So, what say you?" he asked. "Sounds good to me. I can assist to break up meaningless bickering," Daniel said, laughing. And the others agreed, and we were now the rebel circle. That sounds a lot better than it actually was. We really did not do anything besides cease the fighting in classes and fight with the others that tried to come to the north side of Atlantis and start nonsense. Besides all of that time, we were just still a bunch of troublesome youths. From the level of 13 to 18th, nothing really changed. We went to classes, dances, concerts, and studied After 14th level, classes became harder, and I was not going to fail any more classes, as I had to keep up with Emmett. Not sure why I had to, however, I just knew I had to. I had to stay by him and be with him and there if he needed me. Explaining that I could not do then, and I still can't to this day. However, I am sure it had a lot to do with the upcoming millennium, and everyone was getting nervous because no one knew who was climbing that mountain. Before all knew it was going to be Scott. However, Scott Humburge said he would not return. If no one climbed the mountain, we were not sure if Lewis would serve another millennium, or if the garden would cease to exist, or if the cherry moon would explode, and the whole garden catch on fire. I did not think the latter would come forth, however, a lot of people did. Emmett was still set on climbing it. He spoke about it a lot. However, he was the youngest, and that had never happened in the garden's history, where the youngest of the high priest's sons climbed the mountain, as it just did not happen. It was the oldest or the closest to the oldest. Only time would tell, and that time was coming quicker than anyone would have liked it.